Hi, Renske.
So I was wondering, why is it important to keep a culture in life within teams?
I think once you get to a stage where you've defined and activated the culture and you're measuring it, so you know what to do next and you know what activities or actions have actually created some sort of a result in the pockets of the organization, you're exchanging these insights to bring people to a higher level. I think um, over time, the focus will shift more from the organizational level to the individual level, and also to the systemic level. By that, I mean processes, your office footprint, your annual report. And the team level is a very strong connector between that organizational level and the individual level. So if you have activities, if you can institutionalize things on a team level, that basically connects that organizational level to the individual and the systemic level. So having interventions, culture interventions on that team level, that is very important to keep it alive.
Okay, and then what is a nice way to keep the culture alive? What can you do?
Yeah, one of the things I've done a lot and what I like and what has worked therefore, because otherwise I wouldn't repeat it, is what something I call do's and don'ts. So when you're defining your culture, you're basically going to end up with a bunch of words, values, manifesto, leadership style, what have you. You're then going to activate them and you're going to measure those actions that you're taking and activate what kind of result they're creating. But in the define stage, we often say don't prescribe. That's a don't. Don't prescribe what you expect people to do. Because if a value is innovation, the behavior that is accompanied with innovation or that matches that value for someone in compliance is different than for someone in marketing. It will be different for someone in South Africa than it will be for someone in Canada, for instance. So don't prescribe, but in that activation stage, have them come up with their own meaning to those words and actions and figure it out. Let them explore, experiment. Um, so that you've done that. Now you get to everyone knows the values. Everyone has seen what actions have created what sort of an effect. But now you are in the live stage and you are institutionalizing the change and the culture and the processes are being amended. Everyone knows the values, so nothing is special about them anymore. But in your team setting, you are very different. Again, innovation for you as an HR team is very different than innovation for the sales team. It's very different from the team in the Netherlands than it is for the team in India. So now you can give meaning to those words on a team level also because you can then show them to other teams. So a nice way of keeping these values alive or the culture alive is coming up with do's and don'ts on a team level.
Okay, and how do you create those do's and don'ts?
Well, as always, what I like to do a lot is give everyone a voice. So the intervention that I'd like to do typically is, for instance, have a speed date. So you take the 3, 4, 5 values and you have multiple rounds where you do it all combined, whatever you like most and how much time they allow you to have. And just start writing down individually innovation, for instance, as a team, these are 3 do's or this is 1 do, this is a don't. Then in speed date, people start talking to each other about what they wrote down and new ideas will emerge. So they can continue to write those down. Then the second or third or fourth or whatever round, that starts to converge. And you start asking people, okay, now start really thinking about what the main thing is that you've heard or what the do and the don't are for your team and start writing them down on a flip chart or a whiteboard, or if you are doing this online on a Miro board, for instance. And then you ask people to vote. You give them 3 votes, for instance, and there's maybe 10 do's and 10 don'ts per value. There's a top 3, and that's it. You end up with what you have there. So that's an easy way. You could, if you don't like the speed date or you don't have the option to do that, it would be a round robin, for instance. So everyone can just shout them out, and you, as a facilitator, write them down. Then you do voting by hand. So there's multiple ways, but I like the speed date one.
Okay, and once you've done the speed dating and you've created the do's and don'ts, what's next?
Yeah, I think maybe something that I should have mentioned before that. This is not easy for all teams to do. So sometimes they need some examples. So sometimes we start, for instance, because this is a culture transformation, obviously HR and comms are involved a lot. So we start with teams within HR and comms, and we have some sort of a, yeah, there are 10 commandments. Sometimes we call them the do's and don'ts. And that's coming back to your question. So what we do with them, we print them on a piece of paper, a bit larger than the typical office paper, I would say.
Mhm.
We frame them and we put them on the wall. So for instance, this is where the team is sitting and these are their do's and don'ts. So it makes it very easy and tangible and visible for them what it is that they can give each other feedback on. But it's also if someone comes to visit the team because they want a report or they have a question, they can still see, okay, this is what this team is all about. This is what they feel that is important to do in terms of innovation or client centricity, and I'm their client, so I want to know,
Mhm.
and this is what their don'ts are. So once you have them, and again, you start with places where, yeah, willingness to do something along these lines is high. You print them out, you frame them, put them on the wall, and they start living within that team, but they also become very visible for teams visiting, and that's how that it spreads often as well because people see them and then they start requesting to do something similar, or yeah, they become curious as to how they came up with these do's and don'ts.
Okay, well, Niels, thank you so much for telling us something about keeping culture alive with do's and don'ts.
You're welcome, Hans.
Thank you.